it will be little bit interactive kind of a session, because I'll be telling you the how to develop Android apps and how integrate with the actual hardware and how to integrate your hardware to the cloud. So these kind of things I'll be telling you. And so for that, actually this process requires 3 to 4 kind of a things. First thing, we will be for actual hands-on, we will be requiring kind of hardware things, like some microcontroller boards and some wireless communication boards. So that is not right now available, as I have asked to Praveen. So I can do that. I'll explain everything, and I'll also tell you that how we can actually make these apps and how we can receive the data from hardware and how you can send it to the cloud. And then I'll mail a brochure kind of a thing, in which actual template code will be there, actual design, hardware design will be there, and actual code of the app will be there. Then you guys can actually take the small hardware, which can be some simple Arduino Nano also, or simple whatever board I am telling, that you can also buy, which is ready made available in the market. Now using that board, you can interface multiple sensors, and you can test with whatever app I am sending to you. And then you can also test the whether data is coming to your smartphone or not, whether data is going to your cloud to not. And if you guys are having any kind of trouble, Praveen will be having my email credentials and also my mobile number. I'll give mobile number open to all. You guys can contact me anytime. I'll definitely help you. So because my area is this wearable kind of device development and this low power embedded system design. Now all these kind of instruments does requires these Android app interface and smartphone interface and cloud interface. So I had this experience. So I have developed around more than 1,000, I guess, the apps and different platforms. Some of this block level programming, some using this Java, CSS, these kind of things. Now, if we talk about how we can basically develop an Android app which can receive data from some hardware which is having some sensors, let us say assume some temperature, humidity, anything, and how it can store the data in your smartphone, how you can see the graphs in the smartphone, how it can send to the cloud on any kind of third-party cloud, so that you can actually remotely access that data from any part of the world. So that thing we'll be covering in this session. And I'll be telling you basically 3 things. One thing, the hardware thing, a basic hardware for whatever example we have taken for weather monitoring. And I'll show you one of the device which I have developed for this air quality monitoring. And that device we have transferred to some company also. And it will be installing in next one year to the different parts of the India. So that is there. And so after the hardware, we'll discuss about second thing, which is the most important part of this session, is that Android app development. The Android app development generally happens 2 kind of things. One is this using these languages like Java, CSS, and these kind of things. And the second thing, which is more easy, which is block level programming. So as we all know that most of I mean, each one of us does not have a very good let us say command on these languages like Java, CSS, and everything. Maybe some of us have. So I have thought that how I can actually use this simple level of block level programming and a simple level of this existing softwares, so that you can right now learn that how you can design Android app without having knowledge of any of these high level languages, which is this Java, CSS, and HTML also. So yeah, Praveen, screen I have not shared till now. Just now I'm talking only. So I have a presentation of around 6 to 7 slides. I'll be sharing those slides. Based on that is having very less information. It is just having overview about that. After that, we will be coming to real business, that how we can design, what is the softwares, how we can design Android app, how we can take data, how we can design, how we can select a cloud platform, and how we can make our own account to the cloud, how we can extract data from our device to app and app to cloud, right? So for that, there are two things. One thing is, either we should go for just like I am saying, and you can guys can also sing, or this session is recording, so you can have the recording of this session, and then you can repeat the process whatever I have done, and I'll also send the brochure so that you can follow that brochure. Dr. VR Dhavleji, right now you don't need to install anything. Whatever I'm telling, that you can open into browser. So whatever, there are few of the softwares that I'll send you in the brochure. So I'm sharing the screen. Okay, so now can you see the screen? Praveen, can you see the screen?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay. So this was about, so this is, we'll be talking about the Android app development for weather quality, weather monitoring. It can, whatever I'm telling, it is very generic. It can be used for any application, for any kind of data to receive, to see the on your smartphone, and to send the cloud, and to access that data remotely. Not only for weather quality monitoring, it can be for agriculture application, for let us say soil monitoring of some place, or let us say some air quality monitoring, or some let us say water quality monitoring. So I have developed apps, I and my team actually developed apps for all these applications, and process is almost the same. Some of the things which are very critical for specific applications. So okay, so this is the overall idea means that in a IoT enabled actual device, what are the things which are needed. So on the right hand, so this is the device which we have developed for air quality monitoring. You can also say for weather quality monitoring, because air is also part of the weather, and it is also having the different weather quality parameters. So this device we have developed two format. One is this wearable kind of modules. You can see it's a watch kind of a format, and another is the palm size of device. Now this device had some noise is coming from your end. I think some mic is not mute. So device is hardware is having onboard BLE. Now BLE is the latest part of the Bluetooth. Bluetooth takes so much power. That's why this BLE, which is Bluetooth low energy versions, has been launched. So we have developed our own this hardware, which is having onboard BLE facility to connect the hardware to smartphone based app, and to transfer the data to the smartphone based app. Now in this just near the device, you are seeing this app screen, which is having different buttons like connect and status of the device active. Right now it is showing active, and start, and then in the bottom you can say the save in device button is there, connect cloud button is there, previous locations button there, and share result there. And in the middle you can see the different data coming from the device of different parameters. Right now it is for carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, toluene, total VOC, temperature, humidity, node ID, latitude, longitude, battery life, and this particulate matter of 2.5 and PM10. So these were basically developed for air quality. That's why these parameters are there. Now after that, this app facilitates device to share the data from device to the cloud. But device does not have a BLE, device does not have this Wi-Fi service or internet service, which can directly transfer data to the cloud. So this is another medium. There are two kind of methods to transfer data to the cloud or server. One is that device should have that IoT capability, which is says directly data transfer to the server or cloud. Second thing is the device does not have a IoT capability, but whatever device data sending to the another medium device that has this IoT capability. So such kind of communication called as participatory based communication, where this our smartphone is working as a participator between our cloud and our device. So so the advantage of this kind of a communication is that smartphone we are having, each one is having a smartphone right now nowadays. So we can exploit the power of smartphone rather than putting this wireless services to our own hardware, because that will increase the power consumption, that will increase your network usage charges and everything. So what we have thought to use these kind of communication strategy, in which your smartphone based app will be there to receive the data and to display the parameters, to save the parameters into smartphone, and that smartphone based app facilitate you to transfer the data to the cloud. And so on the right hand side you are seeing this is the data saved on the cloud. It is showing Siri AQM node. AQM means air quality node, and it is saved into different date format, which is like November 11 2018, November 2 2018. And if you will click on this November 2018, it will open in the time format. So on the right hand side you'll see it is a 15 51 15 52. It is a time per minute data is receiving, so it is a time format. And if you want to see the actual data, so you can see the data of any minute. So let us say if I want to see the data of 16:1, so in the bottom you can see the data of saved on cloud of different air quality parameters like carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, humidity, latitude, longitude, node ID, and these kind of things. And this is in the bottom you can see this is the web page we have developed to see the location of different device, where we have installed device, what is that, because you cannot directly access to the cloud, and user cannot see each time to this date and time and then see the actual data. So we have developed this global data visualization platform, web server based, which is having this beautiful Google screen and everything, where you can see just clicking on this link, you can this kind of a logo, this kind of a screen will pop up, and it will tell you the actual value coming from that node. So right now you can see there some of the blue marker is there, some of the yellow marker is there. So basically yellow markers are some different nodes, and the blue markers are different nodes. So this is the whole idea of any kind of IoT enabled application in which you want to use our Android apps. So Android apps we should not use only for seeing the data. We should exploit the power of our smartphone, that how we can actually use the power of smartphone to sending the data our cloud. And even on this Android app we can incorporate different latest machine learning and deep learning models, because our smartphone already have this kind of capability. There are recent different kind of ready-made tools are there. This TensorFlow Lite, which is a very famous version of TensorFlow, and so that have ready-made libraries of different machine learning algorithms. You can directly port that TensorFlow Lite to our Android Studio or whatever I am telling software, and you can write any algorithm and you can integrate your smartphone based app. So we talk about the knowledge base required for these kind of applications. So obviously I have divided this thing into 4 different parts. One is this hardware, second is this application based programming, third is the Android app development, and fourth is the cloud based services. Sorry. So if we talk about the hardware, what kind of hardware knowledge I'm expecting to develop these kind of applications. A person should have basic knowledge about microcontrollers, microprocessor based boards. Even if we talk about the basic boards like Raspberry Pi, Arduino Nano, Arduino Uno, these if this kind of knowledge people are having, then they can develop these kind of applications, no issue. Then obviously this basic idea about the sensors and the readout design to interface sensor with our microcontroller ports and everything, and the basic idea about the different services of the microcontroller, like this ADC, DAC, RTC. ADC means analog digital converter. Everyone is aware, I think. this then digital to analog converter, then real-time clock, E-square ROM. So these kind of basic hardware knowledge a person should have, so that he can actually interface different sensors to the microcontroller and acquire data to, from sensors to the microcontroller and send to the smartphone. Now, obviously, to program that microcontroller, a person should have application-based programming knowledge, like C, embedded C, and different kind of IDE. Like for Arduino, it is Arduino IDE. For Eclipse, for some of the hardware for Keel, and so there are so many. Or so this any one of the IDE and language person should have. So right now, the basic one is Arduino. So a person should have Arduino IDEA and Arduino language also. And then the third thing is, which is very most important, is Android app development. So Android app development can be generally have so many platforms are available to develop Android app, but two which are actually very famous, which people are using all around the world very frequently, which are Android Studio and MIT App Inventor. Now, Android App Studio will be requiring you to install the software into your PC, and it is a very heavy software. You will be requiring around a minimum 4 GB RAM and minimum, I think, i3 processor to run this Android Studio. And if you are using some other, let us say, high resource softwares like MATLAB, and then it will not run. So basically, it is a very high computational requirement software. While as we talk about the apart from the other thing, Android Studio will be requires you to have knowledge of C++, Java, CSS, HTML, because on Android Studio, if you are going to design the apps, you will need to write the codes on these different languages like Java, CSS, and these things. So you should have the basic idea about these languages. And if you are not having this idea, then you need to learn these languages. So that's why I have not selected this Android Studio for my session. And the third one is this very simple, which is MIT App Inventor, and which is very user friendly. I found I have designed several apps on this also. I'll show my account on MIT Inventor, which is having so many apps ready. I have built for different applications. Now, so MIT, what is the beauty of MIT App Inventor? That MIT App Inventor does not actually ask you to write the actual codes in different languages, but you have to write the code in that also. So it offers you a block level programming kind of a thing, in which there are different blocks for different purpose. The coding skill should be there, because if you are not having coding skill, then you cannot write the, let us say, idea of the code and the flow of the code. But this is quite much simple compared to the Android Studio based Android app development. And this MIT App Inventor does not has this requires you to install software on your PC. It is already having, you can run this in your browser. I'll show you. And you can make the account. Even you can sign in using your own Gmail. Right now, everyone is having this Gmail account. So using the similar Gmail account, you can log in into this MIT App Inventor and you can start developing your Android app, right? Now we talk about the fourth and last thing, which is the your cloud-based services. Now, cloud-based services, there are so many clouds available right now in the different off-the-shelf available clouds. So we talk about what are the recent very famous clouds are there, like AWS from Amazon, Firebase from Microsoft, Mediafire, eCloud, and there's so many others. But two of more famous are AWS and Firebase. Now I have selected Firebase for this session, because why I am selected Firebase session? Because it is first thing is that it is not paid. It is free for first I think 5 years. So you can develop a hardware, you can use an app, and you can send your data and store to the Firebase, and where you can actually use this cloud for next 5 years without paying anything. So it's a kind of a trial period which is very big, and I have also used this cloud for using cloud for the last 3 to 4 years. It is working fantastically well, And the another beauty of this cloud is that you can because obviously smartphone can run some of the machine learning algorithms, but there are some very high computationally requirement deep learning algorithms where your smartphone can hang, or your smartphone cannot provide such kind of resources. So such kind of algorithms has to run on cloud, because ultimately your data is going to cloud, right? So this Firebase provides you beautiful library of machine learning. If you will log into Firebase, you will find ready-made examples and ready-made libraries for different machine learning applications like face recognition, face detection, and security surveillance. So many are there. Document recognition, these kind of things. So this is one of the beauty. Now AWS is also one of the famous cloud from Amazon, but the only part is this does not provide this much long period for free. So I think they provide 6 months free, then they pay, and they also does not, in my opinion, they does not provide such kind of ready-made machine learning libraries on their cloud. So they just I think provide this basic data storage and analytics kind of a platform. So that's why I selected this Firebase for this session. Okay, so now we talk about how we can design a hardware on which we can actually integrate different sensors, and we should not struggle too much. So I have selected this small board which is launched from I guess 2 years back, which is from DFR Bot company, and the name of this board is Blueno Beetle version 1.0. It is very small board. It is having 2 different chips. One is the chip is Atmel 328, which is basically a version of Arduino Nano, and along with there's another chip which is a CC2540 from TI Texas Instruments. That is for BLE5, basically for low power Bluetooth communication. So the single board will provide you the this microcontroller facility along with the wireless data transfer facility. So you don't need to buy a Bluetooth module, or let us say this wireless communication module separately. You can buy this board. It is having everything, and you can use this board to integrate different sensors. Now this board the beauty of this board is that you can simply program this board with Arduino IDE, right? So if you know the program Arduino board, you can program it too. Now, so this kind of board you can buy. It is having microcontroller along with BLE. Just a second. So apart from this, these are the basic sensors for weather quality monitoring. There are so many sensors available off the shelf. You can use it, and so I am trying to basically give you a basic example that how you can design a basic hardware using off the shelf existing components, and you can transfer data to your smartphone based app. You can make an app, and how you can transfer data to the cloud, right? So these are 4 sensors I have selected. One is this temperature sensor, which is having analog output, right? And this humidity sensor to sense the humidity of the environment, temperature sensor to sense the temperature of the environment, and the third one is the rain sensor to sense the rain concentration and whether rain is there or not. Then the fourth one is the wind flow sensor, and also to sense the wind flow rate and everything. Now the nature of these sensors, this temperature sensor gives you output in voltage, so directly analog voltage. You can directly integrate the sensor to any one of the analog ports. So this board have A0 to A3, 4 different analog channels. You can directly interface this sensor on this any of one of the channel, and you can directly write the simple code, which is I'll show you on Arduino IDE. Just like you will read read an analog pin on Arduino, similarly you will read the Arduino or the analog port on this board also. Then the second one is also have the similarly analog outputs. You can directly interface on A1 second analog port of this board. Then this third sensor is rain sensor, which is also have this analog output, so you can directly integrate with the another analog port of this device. Then this wind flow sensor provides pulse based output basically, so you need to measure the frequency, and based on the frequency change you can predict the how much rain is there, how much wind is there, and what is the wind rate. So for reading the pulse, or let us say for measuring the frequency, you can interface this sensor on any of the digital pin. So there are 4 digital pins are there. In the bottom side of the board you can see that D2, D3, D4, D5, so you can integrate any on this digital pin. Now this after integrating it, you can simply measure the frequency of the pulse which is coming to that digital pin. You can simply implement a software based counter, and based on that you can measure it, the change in frequency, and based on that there's a ready-made formula to convert into the wind flow rate and everything. Then there's another, because I was expecting this device should be a battery operated kind of thing. That's why obviously this board which I am talking about, this Blueno Beetle, it's ultra low power board. It also takes very much less power. It is I think it is a 1 milliampere operational current, so it is very less current. So that's why I thought to integrate with the linear lithium ion battery and make this device to a, let us say, battery operated, and let us say you can actually install it to any location where power is not there, right? So for that there's a ready-made module is there. I have found for you guys. This is a TPS 4050 module. On the top you are seeing battery charging and monitoring module. So this module has three different ICs. One is MOSFET, and one is this power charging IC, battery charging IC, and third is the isolation IC. So this whole module offers you to charge your lithium ion battery. Second thing is to see the status of the battery, whether battery is drained or whether battery is full charge. You can see there are 2 LEDs on the module. One LED will tell you that your battery is under charging location, or let us say how much it is charged. Second battery will indicate whether your battery is drained or not, right? This module is also provide you the facility to intimate whether your battery is overcharged or whether your battery is undercharged, because in lithium ion cases we need to avoid those situations, because if a battery is overcharged it can be burst out, or if a battery is undercharged it can also let us say completely damaged. So to avoid such conditions, they have provided one IC on that board which take care of these 2 situations. So whenever this battery charge full, there's a additional third IC there, which is basically a MOSFET, which segregates your battery connection to the directly USB connection which is used for charging to the battery. So this is the basic description of the hardware, and obviously this will directly communicate your smartphone, and this will go to the third-party cloud and the web-based visualization based any kind of web server you can access it, right? So we talk about that little bit programming, about how we can program this board. I already told you that you can directly program this board using Arduino IDE. Just like you program an Arduino Nano to read an analog channel and to, let us say, set the status of any GPIO pin, you can program this board also. The beauty of this board, why I'm keep insisting on this board, because this board also provides you wireless services without using any additional hardware. So you don't need to use any kind of additional Bluetooth module or GSM module or GSM module or Wi-Fi module. This has a wireless module on the board, so you can program it. So if you will transfer data serially, so this board you use that onboard BLE module and send that data to any smartphone using that BLE module which is already on the board. So if we talk about basic programmings, whatever application you are using, let us say you are using GPIO pins, ADC channel, you need to initialize, then read the sensor response on the digital and analog ports, then take multiple readings and average them to get the stable data, then convert them into physical parameters using existing models, because by this you will be reading simple voltages. Then how to convert voltage to the temperature, voltage to the rain, voltage to the your humidity. They're ready-made existing models in the data sheet. You can use that models and you can incorporate in your own code. Then obviously these are multiple parameters, right? They are, because when you will be measuring these parameters in this example, this will be 4 variables. One is temperature, humidity, rain, and wind flow. So for those 4 parameters, you need to design a data transfer packet. So in the data transfer packet, what you need to do, I'm telling you a very basic method. You can merge all the parameters with using some segregator. Segregator means between 2 sensors data, you can use either slash or either a question mark or either dollar with some starter and with some ender. Starter means some kind of, let us say, dollar, or in the end you can use any kind of slash, or let us say any kind of special character which actually tell the app that this is the new string, and let us say this is the new data packet. And separator will tell you the whether separator will help Android app to segregate different sensors data, so that after each segregator it can split the data and display into different weather parameters, for weather monitoring. And then the simple send data packet on serial port. So this hardware will enable you to transfer serial port data to the on your mobile, because there's already additional chip is there which enables BLE4 communication. Okay, so if we talk about the Android app development tools, there are so many Android app development tools. If we talk about Visor, Android Studio, Source Tree, so many are there. And so the basic, there are 2 very famous, which I already told you. That first is this Android Studio, second is this MIT App Inventor. Now this MIT App Inventor offers you block level programming, and this Android Studio offers you Java, CSS, and HTML based programming. But the one of the bottleneck with the MIT App Inventor is that this does not support you the old version of Android. So if you talk about the very oldest versions of Androids, might be Android app designed by this software cannot support it, while as Android Studio supports you almost all Android versions. While as this MIT App Inventor also supports you the recent Android versions like Oreo, Pi, and these kind of things. So this was the presentation part. Now I'll be going you the actual app development part. Okay. So this is the just me open the So this is the home screen of MIT App Inventor. You can simply go on Google. I'm telling you how to make account. Then I'll show you how to make apps. So type MIT App Inventor and click on it, MIT App Inventor login. So it will be login through your Gmail, or you can also make a separate account. So I have used my Gmail, that's why it opened through a Gmail. So let me explain you the first overview of this software, so that each and every one participant can design apps. So this is a very important part, guys. So there are, in the top, you follow the cursor, there are 4 to 5 things. I'll explain one by one. So this first thing, this is the my projects kind of thing. Here you can find the start. My projects means you can see the projects which are already in the trash. In your case, there will be no project in the trash. Right now, there are several products. So start a new project. When we'll be starting a new project, you can simply click. So it will be asking you a project name. So you can simply write a project name and you can see the OK. So just a second, I think we need to refresh it because it was open from long time. Just a second. Yes, now it is logged. Yes, so we were talking about these are some of the updates. You can remove it. So we talk about the start new project. Just give a new project name, test, and then click on OK. Then in your this panel, it will open like new panel test, and you will see a screen, and on the left hand side you will see different services, user interfaces, which you need to, let us say, use on your screen. So there are 3 to 4 things. First I'll explain the top thing, then I'll explain the actual usage of this user interface, then we will go to the backend programming, right? So in the my project, after the start new project, you can understood, then import AIA from your computer. It is basically, let us say, if you have designed an app, like in my case, let me show you. Go to the my project. So this is one of the app for air quality monitoring. Now this is basically generates a AIA file. Let us say if you want to store these files, or let us say if you want to open this whole software, or let us say if you want to open this whole code into different account. So what you will do, you will download, export a AIA file. Simple, go to the my project, and first import AIA file from my computer. So here you can click on, and you can directly select any AIA file which you have downloaded from your other account. You can open it here. So it is just like a project extension file. Then after that, the save project, this is very basic. Then exported AIA file, let us say that's just like import from your computer, and you need to export it to your computers. If you want to download this code, simple click on export. So it will right now, whatever open is there, in a few seconds it will, right now you can see this airsense.aia has been downloaded to the my computer, right? So now this AIA file I can upload to any of the account of my MIT App Inventor, and it will open overall code of my this application, right? Okay, so this was the basic thing which generally required. And this AI companion emulator USB thing, there are 2 to 3 things. After designing designing the software, you need to install that app and test it to your smartphone, right? So there are 2 things. One thing is emulator. Emulator is basically a platform which has been provided by the software to test your app. So there is a ready-made phone will be virtual phone will be in this software, and you can test that app in that virtual environment. But that virtual environment basically supports those apps which does not require specific hardwares. Like in our case, we'll be requiring specific hardwares like this boards and these sensors and everything. So in those cases, this emulator services does not provides you very well testing results. While as in let us say if you are designing any game, any ping pong game, and or any kind of game, in those kind of apps, this will help you to test app and run the app in the virtual mobile, right? USB is to just connect your mobile directly to the your this MIT App Inventor platform, and directly plug into your designed app to your smartphone. Or there's another option which I generally use: download the APK file your smartphone and transfer it to your smartphone and install it and test it. So this is the practice I regularly use it. Now this is the build file, just like in Arduino or in any kind of Raspberry Pi or in any kind of IDE, you need to after writing the code, you need to build it or compiling it. So in this also you need to build it. So whenever you will, let us say, build it. So there are two modes. One is the provide QR code for APK. So let us say if you don't want to download the APK and physically transfer that APK to your mobile, you can click on the provide QR code for APK. So what it will do, it will provide you a, after compiling it, it will provide you a QR code. So using your phone, you can actually scan that QR code, and so see, right now it is compiling. Okay, it will generate a QR code. So using your smartphone, you can scan that QR code, and that after scanning it, that app will ready-made transfer to your smartphone using internet services. But for that, internet services should be there on your smartphone. So just a second, let it compile. So please ask if any confusion in between, no issues, because this will be interactive session. Otherwise, in the end, it will be difficult to understand. Also, to anything, please. It will be open kind of a session. Please ask any of the query if you have not understood.
I request all the participants, if you have any queries, they can unmute themselves and ask the query.
In between, you can also interact, no issues. So right now you can see that it has provided a barcode link for this particular app. You can scan it and you can download this app ready-made on your computer without plugin, without integrating your phone to your computer via USB connection, right? So okay. So this was the build part, how to build. Now the settings, this is not required for our applications. This is also not required. Then this is the similar thing which is in the taskbar. It is right, ready-made buttons are there. So right now we are not required. Now we talk about the UI. So first we need to design the screens, that what logo we want and what services we want, what kind of buttons we want, whether we have, where we want to type, how many screens we want. So you can see here, you can select how many screens. So right now it is have our app is having 3 screens, 1, 2, 4. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Listening.
Sir, the question is that you have imported that API file, right?
Sorry, which API?
You have imported the file now. Then you have. So if that file is not available,
I'm not able to understood what you are asking.
So you initially started with my project.
Yes.
So,
Tell me.
Then start my new project.
Yes.
Then you have gone for importing the one file.
Yeah. Actually, importing is not for project. Importing is like you have designed a code, you have designed a project. Okay. Now let us say if you want to give that project to anyone else, your friend. So how you will share the code? Just like in Arduino, or let us say in Raspberry Pi, you share the folder, right? So in this case, that folder will be AIA file. So what you have to do, just you need to go open any project which you want to share. Like I am opening this project, and then you go to a project and export the selected AIA file. Now AIA file will download to your PC, and this AIA file you can share with any one of friend. Now that friend will actually import that AIA file and open this whole code in their own account. Okay, so this is just for sharing the projects. Understood?
Okay, this is understood. But if my project is totally new, I don't have any code available with me.
So that I'm explaining, that how you need to design the code, how you need to design the screen. Okay.
Okay.
We'll be moving step by step. I am explaining the basic things, basic utility things. Then I'll tell you that how to design a screen. Then I'll tell you the how to design a backend programming. Okay. So this was the thing. Now when you will open new project, okay, let me open a new project which I have just designed here. So this was the test thing. So this kind of layout you will found. So it will be a screen where you want to place anything, and this will be, so on the left hand side, right hand side, sorry, you will find the component. So right now it is showing only screen 1. because only one screen is there, and I have not added any of the component till now. Sorry. And in the right hand side, it will tell you the properties of the screen. So right now, screen 1 properties is this about the screen. So if I want to change the screen, let us say faculty development program or anything, test software. So test software. So here you can change the color and everything. Okay. Here you can give the name of that app. So let us say test 1. Okay. So here you can select the screen properties like background color and primary color, screen orientation, I mean landscape you want or portrait you want, and the size of the screen. If you want by default, you can be a by default. So in my case, I have, let us say, let me open my already built project where I can actually explain. So here you can see that about the screen, I have write AQM node. This is my color, and this is the orientation of the my screen. So center, I want center orientation. That's why I have selected here center. You want left, right, anything, you can select it. Then this is the app name AQM 1.0, background color and everything. So icon. So the one of the important thing here we want to, we have to understood that every app has an icon, right? So what you can design, what you can do, you can design your icon, whatever icon you want to give to your app, and after that you can upload that PNG file from here. So you can upload that file. It will like here, choose and go and select any of the PNG screen. Obviously it is having some of the size limitation, and then you can select that image, so it will display here. So right now you can see there are a lot of images I have uploaded, and you can select it and you can click on OK. Then you can click on OK. So it that actually so that this logo will assign to your app. So whenever you will install that app to your phone, that logo will come out. So how to design a logo for how to set a logo for this app, that can be set from this icon session. And so this is this, okay, and this is the title of the screen. So like if you want to set any title, so right now it is displaying developed by CSIR Siri Pilani. So you can actually set here the title of the screen, right? And this is the version app if you want to provide any versions to the app. So 1.0, 2.0, like of this. Okay, so let's go to the left hand side. Let's again open to the our test app. So here let me explain this. So if you want to, let us say, perform any buttons, nude any buttons, checkbox, if you want to display the date, time, or you want to display the image on the, so it will be totally depending on the your application. So like in my case, this Siri logo is an image, right? So I'll be needing this image kind of graphics to put here and to upload image from here and to set it here. And this is also, let us say, text form. So here you can select this just a second, text box, and simply drag and drop and you can click here, right? So I've added it, and you can just like you will add the text box on the right hand side, this text box will show you here in the component section, and you will click it, you will be finding the properties. So you can write anything, so anything you want to write. So if you want to display anything on the text, so let us say set my name, anything, so it will be display here, right? So just like this is the date and time thing. So if you want to display the date and time to your app, so you can take that date picker and time picker from here. You can simply drag and drop again and set it here, text for date picker and text for time picker. Okay. Then these are few of the utilities. Let me explain one by one. Button, you can understand if you want to use any kind of button. So in my second screen, there are few buttons. Let me open my second screen. It will be better. So this is my second screen, which this app only I have shown you in my first slide. So you can see on the top there are two buttons. One is the connect, which I want to use for connect my hardware to the app, and the second one is the status, which is basically a text box which will tell me that whether my device is connected or not. So it means if my device is connected to my smartphone, it will display active. If it is not, it will display deactive. And how it will be made, that I'll explain in the backend programming. Now the start is another button to start the data communication. For that I have used. In the bottom side, you are seeing this. These are the text box. These all are the text box for to display the data of different air quality parameters or weather quality parameters, right? And these are the text box also to for with a fixed text of different quality parameters. Like here, you can see it's written like weight. So whenever data will come, data will override this weight and display the data of CO2, CO, and everything. While on the left hand side, there is no data is coming. So this is the static text of different parameters. In the bottom side, there are different 4 buttons: save in device, connect cloud. Save in device, basically we have used this button to save the data in our smartphone in an Excel file format. And then the second thing is this connect cloud, to send the data to the Firebase. Previous locations is basically we have used to see where we have actually tested this device past. So it basically keeps the history of different latitude and longitudes. Now share results, we have used to share the results to using different WhatsApp and email. So these are 4 buttons. Now, so just like these buttons, these are checkbox, date picker, image, labels, list picker. So each one of this user interface have a specific purpose, and it will be depending on your application. So right now I'm explaining whatever I have used, whatever we are basically you will be needing. Okay. So there are 2 kind of user interface. One of the user interface like this button checkbox, which you will be if you will select these user interface for your app, you will be seeing on your screen. Like I am seeing this button, I am seeing this text box. There are other things which are non-visible kind of user interface, like this notifier, right? So if you want, let us say, to generate any notifier to any kind of a user, let us say my app should provide a notification to user like my device is connected. So for that you can use this notifier user interface, but that will not you see in your screen. It will be seen in the bottom, non-visible components. Like right now I have different clock for basically set the timer, file is for writing any data, location sensors. So different software based sensors are also there that I'll explain you, and different this clocks and notifier and everything. Okay. Now we'll go to layout. So layout is basically to set the arrangement of the screen. Okay. So right now this if you want this horizontal arrangement, you can set the horizontal arrangement. Just like here, you just need to drag and drag, and after that you need to set the parameters on the right hand side in the properties section, and you can see the components which you have selected on the app. Okay. So this horizontal scroll arrangement, table arrangement, whatever arrangement you want, you can select from here. It's not that much important. Okay, now here it is something important, media. So if you want to, let us say, use the smartphone services, smartphone has capability already, lot of capability, like smartphone has this camera, smartphone has the ability to click a picture, a smartphone has ability to record audio. So if you want to use those kind of services, so this is the section. You can use these services to the app. So if you, let us say, if you want to use the camera of the smartphone in your app, you can simply integrate camera. So if it will go to your non-visible components here, right? But making it work, you need to write the backend code that I'll explaining. And this image picker for selection the image, for player to, let us say, play a video. If you want to play if you want to make a video, make an app in which, let us say, you want to record a video and then you want to play a video. So for that, these kind of utilities you can use in your app. Just like for video, there are some of the utilities for speech, audio, and everything. So this, after that, if you want to let us say draw a graphs means, let us say, if data is coming. So right now on my screen you will see a value of CO2, and let us say if you are not interested to see the value of your CO2, you are interested to see the graphs of CO2. So for that you can use this canvas and you can design your own graphs. Then after that, this maps and everything, let us say if you want to based on the change in the latitude and longitude, you want to, let us say, display a marker on the map. So for that, this utilities, these kind of the utilities you can use. Okay, so just like video and audio, different sensors, our smartphone also have different sensors like accelerometer, barcode scanner, barometer, clock is there, gyroscope sensor is there, hydrometer is there, light sensor. So many sensors are there. So if you want to use the data of different sensors which are in our smartphone, like light sensor is there, like if you want to design application that which will tell you that what is the light intensity around you. So light sensor is already on your smartphone. You can simply use this light sensor and you can design this kind of simple user interface where it will display the light intensity around it. And just like light, it can display the magnetic field and everything. So it will be dependent on your smartphone capability also. Some of the smartphone does not have all this sensors. Then this social part is there. Just like I already told you that there's another button, share results, in which I will be sharing all these results using different WhatsApp, email, messaging. So for that, you need to use these services. So like contact picker, email picker, phone call. So you just need to, let us say, if you want to share these results using WhatsApp. So for that, you can use this sharing component. I think I have already here, or you can simply drag it and place it. So this is there, and using this you can share the data to WhatsApp and messaging and this email also. Now this also software, apart from third-party cloud, which I will be explaining later, this also provides you small clouds with this app. So let us say if there is a parameter, you want to store it, and you want to, because your app will not run in your background. Obviously, when your app will be online, then it will take them data and store it, and when it will be, let us say, offline, it will then not recall the data. So if you want to store that data, and if you want that whenever my app will pop up, it will start from that data only. So you can store that data into small clouds. So they provide this small 3 to 4 clouds. This cloud DB is there, tiny DB is there, tiny web DB is there. So you can simply use these utilities and actually store that data. And the file is only for, let us say, writing the data in Excel file format or .txt and everything. Then this is the connectivity. Obviously, if you are designing, obviously this smartphone will have only two kind of connectivity, either this this USB based connectivity. So if you want to, let us say, have your hardware connectivity with the smartphone using USB of the smartphone, you can select the serial utility, and if it is a Bluetooth, you can select the Bluetooth part. So I think I have explained a lot of things in the designing the screen. Now, which is the most important thing, the backend programming. So I'll explain first my welcome screen programming, which is very simple, so that you guys can have an idea that how we can program it. So for after designing it, you need to, so there are two parts. One is the designer, one is the blocks. So when you will be clicking on blocks, you will find these are the programs written for that particular screen. If you want to jump again to the designer, you can simply click on this designer. You can come back to the screen if you want to anything change to the screen. So here, whatever you will select, let us say if you will select the date time utility, you can select the sun sensors. For that only you will find here blocks. If you will, let us say, not use date time block, you will not able to find the those blocks here. Apart from that, there are some of the general blocks available which you can use any part of. So there are I think 5 to 6 blocks. I'll explain quickly. So these are the controls. So if you want to write a if else kind of a statement, so you can simply go to there. Here they are having this if else, and also if else and do while kind of a loops and different conditions. So these are kind, you can select it from here. Okay, so it's a kind of a control thing. Then the logical operators, just like in our app also, in our coding skills, there are different and, or, equal to, not equal to, different utilities are there. So this is also provided into block format. So these are logical kind of operators. Then this is the mathematical operator. So just like in our C code, this math.h is there to perform different mathematical operations like power, multiplication, division, and there are so many. So just like for that, this also provides you different mathematical operations to provide square root, rounding, flooring, modulation, calculation, tan inverse, and everything, trigonometric functions, bitwise operations. So here you can select it based on your own requirement. Now this is something for actually we'll be using to receive the data for a smartphone and to structure the data. So for structuring the data, let us say if you want to join the two data, so you can use this join kind of a service. Then you want to, let us say, calculate the length of the data, then this is the length thing. You want to test that whatever packet data is coming, whether it is empty or whether it is having some data. So you can use this block. Then if you want to, let us say, compare the text with any one of the else text. Let us say if you want to see whether data is coming yes or no in any kind of program. So you can actually compare with that text using this block. This is the trim block. Trim block is basically to trim the data. Let us say in our case, whatever data packet is coming, it is having one starting bit and one end bit. So let us say in the starting bit dollar is there, or in the end bit slash is there or hash is there. So we need to trim those parts. So for trimming that, we have to use this block. So just like this also, this is also different blocks to structure the data. So you can, let us say, segment, you can trim a segment also. You can replace a text which is coming from the string from the hardware, or you can check whether data is coming in string or not. You can reverse the string, or some, there are several operations you can operate using this text block. Then this is the list block. In this, let us say if you want to design any kind of a specific list, or if you want to, let us say, whatever data you are coming, you want to, let us say, make a list with a date time stamp. So using this block, you can actually design the list, and you can, let us say, display that list, and you can convert that list into, let us say, Excel format or .txt format, a different thing like list to CSV table, and append to any column or append to any row. So you guys will be needing some time to understand this. That's why I'm saying that I'll send you the brochure and my email ID, and this phone will be open for you guys. You can please design these apps. I will also send you sample apps which I have designed to communicate to this hardware and send the data to the cloud. So if you have any kind of confusion, please let me know. This is not required for us. This is the colors. So if you want to, let us say, set some specific color to the text box, you can select it. And this is for initializing any variable. Like if you want to initialize any variables, you can initialize a global name. If you want to get the data from any variable, you can use this block. If you want to set the data to any variable you can use this thing. And just like similar, there are other things also, procedures. So if you want to just like in C code also, we generally write some small subroutines, right, apart from our main code. So, or let us say functions, if I can talk in better words. So if you want to design your own some subroutines on sub functions, so after writing it, you can declare it as a procedure, and in your main code you can call it this procedure. Okay. Okay. So let us quickly explain this welcome screen so that you guys can have idea. Okay. Okay. So see here I have written when button 1 clicked, do this. So this is the operator I have taken from control block. Now what I want that whenever my button 1 has been clicked, it has to perform these operations. Now let me show what is my button 1. Okay, button 1. Okay. So button 1 is basically to connect. Button 1 is basically to go into the second screen, right? So whatever my app is there, app is basically for Bluetooth communication. And if a user is not switching on Bluetooth, so this after clicking button 1, it will basically not go to the screen 2. It will display that please turn on Bluetooth warning. And if let us say Bluetooth client 1 means our smartphone Bluetooth has been enabled, so it will simply open another screen 2, which is actually main screen from where we can actually connect the hardware. Okay. And this is the basically for, so our this screen is having, you can see time and date. Okay, so for displaying time and date, this particular function I have written. So clock 1 is basically a timer. Here you can see. So this is the clock 1. If you can click on this, so here you can see, you can set the timer value. So right now it is the 1000 millisecond. It means for every 1 second, this timer will call. So here you can click that timer always fires and timer enabled. Means every 1000 millisecond, this timer will flag, and whatever particular task you have assigned to that timer, that will execute it. So in our case, what we have done, when clock 1 timer has been called, what will it will then? It will change the time. Whatever current time is there, it will assign to that text for setting the time. So you can see this clock 1 hour instant. So this is for hour. Then this some kind of separator for time. Then this is for minutes. Then this is for second. So this overall thing will assign to the time label. What is time label? Time label is basically this text box. You can see this is the text box time label here. Okay. So after this what we will do, whenever clock 1 timer will come, this will take data from clock 1, hour, minute and second, and then it will join into specific format and display to your text, which is having time labeled name text. Okay. So and this time will basically taken from your smartphone clock. Okay. Just like time, this is a date table also. So just like time, it will take a date, month and year, and it will display on your date label text here. Date label text here. So what is the purpose of this function? This function basically, whenever this timer flag call in every 1 second, it will update the date and time of your app. Okay. Now this is the notifier. I already told you that if you want to provide any kind of notifier to the user, let us say app is hanging or some error comes. So if you have also seen different kind of notifiers that this app is not working, or this screen is not working, or kindly enter this. So for that kind of thing, we have used this notifier. So in this, basically I have set the password for a particular screen. So if you want user want to go to the screen 3, he need to enter the password, and which currently is 1234. Okay. So if that password is not right, it will display the wrong password. Try again. If it is right, it will open another screen name 3. Okay. And then obviously there's another button on my welcome screen to close the app. So when button 2 is click, close applications. So here these blocks you can take from either here or particularly, let us say, if you talk about, let us say, notifier 3. So just need to go to the notifier 3, click on notifier 3, and you can take it and you can drag and drop to here, and you can then write your code. Okay. So this is something, and this on the right hand side there is a backpack is there. Let us say if you want to transfer this whole code to another screen, which is basically copy paste. Okay, so what you need to do, you can simply so there's an option in which you can copy all blocks to backpack. Now what it will do, it will transfer all your blocks to this bag, and then you can open the same blocks into here from here. So here you can see whatever you have written in your that screen. Let us say if you want to copy into this screen for that only. So now this is the second screen code, which is a little bit more important to receive the data from our hardware and send it to the cloud. So it will also require some of the time. Please bear me, let it complete by 6 o'clock. So let's go to the start. Okay, so here it is starting. So you can see it is basically when screen 2 has been initialized. I have written a code that enter your node ID, and ID is built. So this is basically a notifier. So whenever my screen 2 will be open, user will open the node screen 2. It will give you a notifier to assign a node ID, because your this weather monitoring station will have a node ID, so that you can actually monitor 1000 nodes data. So every node will have a separate ID. So user can actually enter the node ID 1, 2, 3, or 4. And after that, it will scan, call Bluetooth client 1 and start scanning. So this will be here. So here Bluetooth BLE1, we have already added this thing from here to our screen. That's why it is showing here. Okay. So from here, you can click on this and see different Bluetooth functions. Okay. To receive the string, to receive the integer, to connect the Bluetooth, these kind of things. Okay, so this also I have taken from that also. So after this opening the screen and assigning the node ID, we need to scan the Bluetooth clients available, because our client, this hardware, will also have a Bluetooth. So it will scan, and after that it will display whatever clients are available, and that code. Yes, so now whatever devices are available, so it will generate the device list. Like there's a possibility there are multiple Bluetooths around us, so it will generate the ID and will display in your list picker. So what is list picker? List picker is also one of the utility. This is, so when you will see here, sorry, this is the list picker. When you will click on connect, it will show you the multiple Bluetooths available. And your particular device will also have a name or MAC address where you can actually select the Bluetooth for connect. So after device found, you can let us say device and so that the user can connect to the particular client. Now after connecting it, we need to set the this Bluetooth hardware have this service UID and characteristic UID. Basically, we can understand, this is the MAC address of that chip. Okay, so characteristic service UID basically a MAC address of that chip, and characteristic UID is basically a particular service of that chip. For that, let us say integer data transfer, float data transfer. For that, string data transfer. So this kind of operation will have a separate characteristic ID, while a service UID will be similar for all things. So basically it is a MAC address for that thing. So after connecting it, it will because this is the address for that particular chip board which I have shown you in my presentation. So this will verify the service UID, connector's UID, and then it will be connected. Okay, so this is particular function I have written to perform the handshaking operations with our this hardware, and to verify that our client is ready to connect to our smartphone. Now we will be go to receive the data part. So in our case, we'll be receiving in the string format, because we have converted into string format, which is having separators, initializers, enders, and so this is the block. This is the block when Bluetooth string is received. So whenever Bluetooth string, our hardware will transfer the data, and whenever this app will receive the strings with a particular characteristic UID and service UID, it will come into this function. Now this function this is basically written to structure the data set, to split the data set, because we have sending with a lot of separators. Okay, so after that, separating the data set, here you can see we have split at spaces. So whatever I have sent in my application, I have not using any kind of slash and everything. I have sent a space between two sensors data. Okay, so then we will be separating it and assigning each data to a different variable. So this is my CO2 variable, this is toluene, this is carbon monoxide, this is temperature, this is humidity, this is PM1. So this is the raw data coming from hardware into the voltage format. Okay, then after this, obviously we need to convert it to the 0 to 5 volt. So for that, we have converted it to using this simple ADC formula. We can convert it so that it can actually convert it to 0 to 5 volt. Then this every sensors whatever we have implemented this different existing models into different data sheets to convert that voltage values to the actual CO toluene concentration data. In your case, it will be temperature, humidity, rain, and everything. And these are few of the conditions we have implemented. Like if CO is less than 0, it should display 0, because CO is less than CO negative is not possible, right? So these are some of the conditions we have. Then after that, when we will be receiving data, we need to display on the screens. So everything I can. So here you can see, like CO2. In front of CO2, there is a label 3 is there, right? So we need to display the CO2 data on the label 3. So label 3, global CO2. Then label 5, global CO. So just like this, we need to display the variables data to different text labels which on the screens on our app. Okay. Then this thing. Then this is the part to send our data to the cloud. Okay, so I have used this Firebase cloud for making account on Firebase. It is very simple. It is available on due to limitation of time. I am not able to explain that how to make an account of on this cloud, but it is very much simple. I will also send the brochure on how to make an account on Firebase. So for this, using this function, you can send the data to the cloud. So here you can, what you need to do, you need to first go to the experimental, and you can select the Firebase DB. You can select the Firebase DB, okay, and here you will see that Firebase DB2, because I have selected twice. Okay, now here you will be need to enter the Firebase token. Firebase token you will find when you will be designing your own account on Firebase cloud. Okay, and URL will be default. No, URL will not be default. Wait a second. URL you will be also getting from while setting the. So here you can see Siri QM URLs there, which I have found from my this while designing the setting up the this cloud account. So this is the programming which we need to do for sending data to the our app to the cloud. So this from here you can see you will found the Firebase DB1. Here you can click it and found different operations. for sending data, receiving data, and clearing data, such kind of things. So here you can say the store value tag is basically a bucket that I'll show you on the cloud where you want to store the data. So like here, this wait. So here, like this Siri AQM node is a bucket, and this rest is the data part. So, so what I want in the app, that this app should have this store with a date time format. That's why first I am sending the this date and time as our major bucket, and after that I am sending actual value, which is the carbon monoxide. Then after again we are repeating same thing, sending the tag of date time, and then this is CO2 CO2 value, and similarly for all the variables. Okay. So this is the operation I have implemented. So this is the store TinyDB small cloud for, let us say, writing that data also to the our smartphone small cloud to recall that value. And this operation I have written to actually save data with date time in a Excel file format. So let us say if you are also interested to save that data into Excel file format in your smartphone. So simple, you need to add the that file. I have already explained here in the go to the storage section and then add this file here, and you will find here similarly file, and you can implement this. It's very easy here. So it is a file one. You can simply write append text, read text, anything. So using this only I have implemented it. So here you can see this is the file one, append text. What is the text? Text should be with the date time first, then all the parameters with some separator. So if you will use comma, so basically in Microsoft Excel, this comma will be taken as a new column. Okay. So I have assigned each air quality or weather quality parameter in a separate column, along with the latitude and longitude also. And here it is this what is the name of the file. So I have assigned the name of the file with the date and time stamp. So this is all about the app, which we will be requiring to let us say read data from our hardware and structure it into proper format and store it to, let us say, smartphone based Excel file format or send to the cloud. Okay, in a few minutes I'll also show you the cloud. So this is the Firebase account which I have made, and this is the data coming from my one of my this water quality monitoring nodes. You can see. So this water node is a major bucket. Okay, then this date, month, and year is child bucket, and this is the time is subchild bucket, and this is the data thing. Okay, so you generally we in this cloud we store like this only. So this is the date on which data has come here, and this is the each minute data. You can see this is conductivity, water conductivity, device information, ORP, salinity, TDS. So this is the water quality data. Okay, you can see. So this is also very simple. You can there are only 3 to 4 steps things are required to set up the account on Firebase. Majorly, this will also be integrated just like MIT App Inventor. This will also integrate to your Google Gmail ID. This is also open with my Gmail ID, and you can actually set up this whole account, and you can store data also, and you can implement different machine learning algorithms and see real-time data set. So I think due to time constraint, we have to stop our session here only. While as I will be sending our sample apps along with this how to set up this this cloud kind of a framework and hardware details also to Praveen. You guys will be finding all these details by tomorrow, or let us say day after tomorrow. And please, this is my request, please implement all those things. This is very simple. First implement the sample app what I will send you, and see whether your data is coming from hardware to app and it is going to your cloud or not. And if you are facing any kind of issues, please let me. If any kind of confusion there, please ask.
I request participants to raise their hands if you have any queries, or they can unmute themselves and ask any queries to the our expert.
Yes, Sandeep. Basically, hardware chips are ready. This whatever I have explained, that board is ready much available on Amazon also and Flipkart also, and you can also ask from different this DFR robot companies, and the cost is also very less. It's around 2,000 rupees. You can buy it, no issues. And this Jayesh commented that it's very difficult to just understand from pre-assigned and pre-programmed app. Jayesh, definitely I can understand your things. It is difficult to understand, but you can see that for designing an app, 1 hour, and to explaining the app things, and to designing an app and to integrate with the cloud, it will require a minimum 3 to 4 hours for me. So that's why I have explained to you guys from pre-programmed apps. While I have promised you guys that I'll send you a sample app. You design your app, you integrate with the hardware, and let me know if any kind of problem. We'll be dealing separately, no issues.
Yeah, anyone is having any query? Either you can unmute yourself and directly you can ask, or either put your query in the chat. Okay, so I think, sir, we do not have any query from the participants.
Okay.
So thank you, Satyam sir, for giving a wonderful session on the non-destructive sensing methods for food quality measurement, and then a wonderful hands-on session with the MIT App Inventor. Obviously, it is difficult for you also to design such type of complex app within a 1.5 hour. But the
Yes.
approach, but the complete
Yes, so
approach.
I was thinking. See, I am very much interested to explain you guys to design app from end to end. Okay, so if your guys are interested to provide me minimum 3 hours chunk of a time, definitely I can I can design app from end to end and give you a, let us say, demo kind of a thing. But this in 1 hour to explain the hardware things, also to explain the basic things of the app, also to give you the idea of cloud services also, it is very much difficult.
Yeah, sir, I actually request you if you provide us a manual type of a short
Yes,
app on
yes, yes.
Firebase logging, so that will people will help in future, so that at least a small program to get one simple data and to store that data on a Firebase.
Definitely, Praveen. What I will do, that I will provide you a hardware detail also, and along with hardware code also, and a sample app also, and a Firebase kind of a manual also, so that if you will follow those steps, you can transfer your data from hardware to app and app to cloud.
Yeah, sure. That will benefit all the participants.
Sure,
Also.
sure.
So thank you very much, sir, for giving almost more than 4 hours for our FDP. So from your busy schedule, you have taken this time. So I really thanks from Sri Santa Gajanan Maharaj College of Engineering, and I appreciate your work also, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
So with the permission of our experts and the coordinates available here, I declare that this today's session is over. So we'll meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. again to have our sessions. The important announcement is that tomorrow at 6 p.m. we have a test is there. You have to attend that test, and you have to score minimum 60% to get the certificate from AICTE. So from 6 to 7 p.m. or maybe 6 to 6:30 we'll have a test is there. So whatever the instructions will be there, that I will share at the time of test. So I request all the participants to be there for the validity session as well as for the test. So thank you all of you. Thanks. Have a good day.